Hello, welcome to the Mediocre Takes podcast, the podcast where we share our mediocre takes on the shows and movies we watch. I'm Marco and here with my co-host Mal. How are you doing, Mal?
We had a meeting today at work, and my supervisor had to remind the room of adults, Marco, to wash their hands after going to the bathroom because multiple people got caught not doing it.
I bet you it was the men.
Of course, that's actually so funny. Because my work is actually very inclusive, it was also the women.
You're kidding.
I caught two.
Oh my god,
I didn't
that's
snitch, but
nasty.
I know names.
Anyways, today we're doing a serious episode, I guess. Well, we have done like serious topics before, kind of, but this is like a really serious movie, and we'll try to be serious, but we'll probably not be. But yeah, let's just go ahead and get started with the movie. And we're reviewing Blakkklansman, by the way. So in Blakkklansman, Ron Stallworth, the main character, becomes the very first black cop in the Colorado Police Department. He eventually infiltrates the Ku Klux Klan by using a white person as cover. Basically, the fake Ron would go and meet with the KKK while the real Ron would talk to them over the phone. The day is saved after Ron stops a literal terrorist attack. However, the leader of the police says that no one can know what has happened, and Ron does disagree with that in real life, and eventually he writes the book that becomes this movie. As for the movie ends with current racist acts being seen in today's time, such as Charlottesville and more. And yeah, that's the plot of the movie. So watching Lance Klansman was my idea, but I feel bad about it because I don't think Mao would like it after watching it, mostly because it feels like propaganda. And we'll go over more about propaganda later, but I haven't watched that much propaganda, but I wasn't sure if this counted as it, mostly because it was like it felt like anti-cop while being pro-cop at the same time sometimes, especially with the character Patrice, the love interest of Ron. So I was just kind of confused at some points about what the message of this story was going for. So yeah. Okay, so I was kind of happy that in the end Patrice kind of hinted at breaking up with Ron at the end because he literally lied about being a cop, which is a huge red flag. Also, after all this, he decides to still be a cop, which is another red flag, honestly.
And like right off the bat, when Ron and Patrice first met, I knew that that was sort of gonna they were gonna try and make that a thing. But I literally from the beginning could not get with it because I'm not a fan of liars, and he was lying since day one about being a cop to the president of the Black Student Union. Like, what are we doing here? But I'm really glad that they didn't. Happy ever after. And I actually really like how they didn't get together because that just shows that Patrice wasn't willing to compromise her morals for a man, which I think
Yeah,
is something a lot of
I definitely agree with you. I really like that she stands her morals. Something rare we see these days, but
well, in some communities, all right, let's be clear.
yeah, yeah.
Some communities, women are not willing to stand up to men.
That reminds me of this videos where like women will talk about how terrible their husbands are or their boyfriends are, and then when people on TikTok are like, "You should break up with him," they're like, they get so defensive, and they're like, "Well, he's not that bad, even though he is." It's strange. I was curious to see how Mal felt about the movie, but to be honest, I got so anxious halfway through this movie because of what was happening. I had to text Mal and said, "Can we record tomorrow?" I'm halfway through this movie and it's literally stressing me out. Like I genuinely felt stressed out and it was very frustrating.
Was there a specific moment that sent you over the edge, or was it just like an accumulation?
I feel like it was just an accumulation. I think it's important that at the end of the movie we are shown like racist things happening in our current time to show that racism isn't over for the people who haven't realized that yet. I did appreciate the mention of Birth of a Nation. That movie really did boost the KKK sadly, and I think it's important to at least know about racism to deflect it. So something I also appreciated about this movie, and I feel like it could have been focused on more, is that they really added this idea that KKK members to white people seem like normal people until they show their true colors. Like, if you're a person of color, it'd be kind of easy to tell when someone's being racist to you. But for white people, I guess it really isn't because they have that privilege. And I kind of liked that this movie did show that, like, for other white people, they seem like normal people. Okay, so this is kind of silly, but I found out that John David Washington is a Nepo baby, and he's the person who plays the main actor. He's the son of Denzel Washington, which is very surprising. I'm just surprised he can act, you know? That man can act, I guess. I just wanted to mention that. So I completely forgot about Alec Baldwin in the beginning of this movie. And when I saw him, I was like, wait a minute, I forgot. And there was something weird that I remembered. Kind of felt weird, mostly because I know him from 30 Rock.
He's also in Cat in the Hat,
Really?
the live action film of Cat in the Hat. Yeah.
This is a shock to me. I don't know how to feel now. It just feels like two different, I don't know, contrasts, I guess. It's very strange. By the way, you guys definitely should not watch 30 Rock. It's kind of racist and bad. And I forgot the main character's name, but I think she wrote that series, and I don't trust her anymore after watching that, you know?
Yeah, the beginning scene with Alec Baldwin was so absurd. Alec Baldwin, who I think recently was indicted for manslaughter. Don't quote me on that.
I think you mentioned this to me, but didn't he accidentally shoot someone or something?
Yeah. Or, oh, it's a conspiracy. Actually, I don't want to get into conspiracy theories.
Okay.
That scene did a great job setting up the tone for the movie, I think.
So I always get red flags from when actors who choose to play racist in a movie, and I get that someone has to do it, and like if nobody plays that role, there's not gonna be a movie, but it still feels very wrong. So yeah, I don't know. Like I remember I was talking to Mel about this, and Mel said, "I know they were dying to say that." Like the N word and everything, and say something racist. It just feels very strange. So I found out that David Duke is still alive, and I wish it was okay to kill racists. So yeah. Also, I did not know that the KKK used to give out or still gives out membership cards, which also felt weird. I don't know. It's like a Fred Meyer card, I guess.
Did you know that there are multiple active KKK chapters in our state?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I did.
That's so slay of us. Mostly in the East, and I think neither of us are surprised by that.
Yeah. Anyways,
Slay!
literally stop. Okay, so apparently the girlfriend from the movie Patrice does not exist, and Ron at the time in real life was already dating someone who would eventually become his wife, I believe. And I get that there's obviously going to be changes to a movie from a book, and I get that most people don't like this change, but I honestly really appreciate it because this movie felt like really propaganda-y to me. Patrice was just a big fresh wait.
Breast?
I meant fresh. Okay, anyways. Um let me speak. Are you still laughing? Should I just skip that part? I don't know. I don't know.
No,
I want to
she's a
say
breast depression.
again.
No, but I get what you're saying, like, I
She's
think
a fresh no. She's
just stop. Just her inclusion in this film was really important because it showed sort of the other side of the fight, and it showed the hypocrisy of Ron in some ways.
Yeah, I definitely like the fact that they kind of tried to show that Ron was in the wrong. However, I feel like they didn't do that good of an example because at the end he still decides to become a cop, I guess.
Oh, yeah, it
Yeah.
wasn't like an in-depth thing at all. It was just sort of like, "Hey, you know, we have this character and she is for the liberation."
And the last thing I basically have to say is I forgot who that one person was that the Black Liberation Group was meeting, but like they were all in a room with a bunch of photos and they were talking about the Birth of a Nation movie. I don't know what that person was, but I found it strange that he was talking and then they would cut to the KKK. Like it was very strange.
I actually think that was a very good scene because it was straight up like the way that they were cutting between this. What was the story he was telling? It was actually really important. It was this true story about this black boy who was wrongfully accused of, yeah, sexually assaulting this white woman,
Mhm.
and he was tortured, and pictures of him were used as postcards, and his body was cut up and created for like souvenirs. And then it would cut to these white Klansmen like watching Birth of a Nation and just like laughing and like it was a really impactful scene.
I kind of agree with you. My only real gripe is I feel like I need the black person to talk more instead of the KKK scenes. I get that's an impactful scene. I just personally didn't really love it that much. And that's pretty much it.
I loved the call between Ron and Walter, like just his white man voice and then everyone else's reaction. But alas, not even the minority characters are exempt from the onslaught of slur slinging. I think it hurts more when I see minorities using slurs aimed towards other minority groups, just because we're in this together, and I know it was meant to show that white Ron was a piece of shit racist, anti Semitic homophobe, but if it ain't your slur, don't say it, you know? That was just, it was just such a tough scene to see of one of us say those words. Ron teaching Adam Driver. Okay, I should address this. Some actors I say by name, even though I know their character's name, just because they'll always be that actor to me. Just like, I'm gonna call him Alec Baldwin. Like, I know his character's name, but he's Alec Baldwin. So anyway, Ron teaching Adam Driver how to talk like him is exactly how I think white people practice speaking AAVE before deciding to become a TikToker. When Ron asked Patrice if every conversation had to be political, I rolled my eyes because, like, your existence is political, whether you like it or not. That whole scene made me so mad just because, like, he did not get it. And it's one of the reasons why this film sort of gave me bad vibes sometimes. Because, like, he never got it. And sometimes he'd be like, I can be black and a cop. And it's like, okay, rolling my eyes.
Do some reading, like learn, learn how wrong you are. I don't know.
No, he can change the police force.
Yeah.
The subtle that reminds me of another group comment when Adam Driver said no one wants to rat out bad cops because they're a family. I loved that, but it also made me a little more confused about Ron's character because he's literally saying the cops are acting like the Klansmen, right? Because they're a family, they're brothers, and I'm like, what? So like, where are we going with this? What are you doing? Like, you're not doing anything with this. So that scene where he was talking to David Duke about, being a white kid and like hanging out with this black kid until his dad told him not to. I was getting the vibe that that was a real scene that happened to him, but the roles were reversed, obviously. And that's so funny because that literally happened to me once. I think I've told you this before, but when I was a kid, like elementary school, I went over to my neighbor's house and I asked, white girl, I asked her if she wanted to come and play with me, and she's like, um, sorry, white kids and black kids can't play together. And I was like literally shocked Pikachu face because I was like, well, no one's ever said that to me before. I think that's the first time I became conscious of racism.
I
Just
think
went
I
home.
have heard this before. I'm just not sure yet.
Yeah. But anyway, saw that scene and I was like, "Oh my gosh. Twinsies." One thing I will say is I'm surprised the creep officer wasn't exposed as a Klansman. I genuinely thought that's where they were going to go with his character. And I don't know if this happened in real life. I don't think it did. But the fact that they set him up and then they arrested him feels so fake. Like, I don't think that would ever happen, especially since they already established we're a family. We'll never rat out the bad cops.
Overall, I feel like this is a very conflicting movie to me. I just feel like it's a bit too propaganda-y, and there are certain parts of it where I felt like, I don't know, the white actors made me uncomfortable. It was just a very uncomfy movie, I guess. I did like the ending, I guess. For the most part, I did like the parts where it showed Ron and Patrice like holding their guns out, and then they see the cross getting lit on fire with the Ku Klux Klan members around it, and then it shows the like racist moments throughout current history. Yeah, it was a decent movie. I just personally don't really love it that much.
I wouldn't recommend this movie to a general audience. Not because it's bad, it's great, and there was a lot of really important stuff in here. It's just a really hard watch emotionally and psychologically, especially as a black person. Personally, I think all white people should watch this. I want them to watch this and I want them to be uncomfortable. And I can't even say the climax was that satisfying cuz Ron still got profiled and beat by cops. It had funny moments and it had really hard-hitting moments. But I think if you're really interested about the story of Ron Stallworth and how he infiltrated the KKK, you should just watch a documentary or read a book or an in-depth article on it.
He literally wrote a book about what happened, so you guys
Yeah.
should read it.
So read that. And if you're interested in watching this and haven't yet, I would I would just say be careful, especially if you're a minority because there's a lot of hate in this film. So recently I've been trying to make my transitions fun, but I could literally not think of anything that would make sense for this movie. So let's just fucking move on over to the mediocre minute. Hey guys, this is a tiny little micro moment where me and Marco recommend books, comics, music, games, and more for you all to check out as a way to de-stress from watching this movie if you chose to watch it. My recommendation is the album Return of the Boom Bop by KRS-One, and it's not just because one of the songs on the album is called Black Cop. KRS-One has had some great hits that I loved, and I finally delved into his discography in, like, December of last year, and all I have to say is he slayed. I think my favorite songs from this album were Outta Here, Brown Skin Woman, Black Cop, obviously, and I think I'm legally required to also like Sound of the Police. Marco, what is your recommendation?
My recommendation is a podcast called Dunsparce and Drampa. This is a Pokemon D&D podcast, which I know is kind of lame, but I personally just enjoy podcasts that involve D&D, I guess. Yeah, this follows 4 characters and their Pokemon as a new bad guy team comes out of the woodworks, and it's about them basically fighting it and like saving the day and everything. It's a D&D podcast. I think you all know what it will be about. Like it's not that hard, I guess. But yeah, I enjoyed this podcast, and that's my recommendation. Anyways, you guys, that's our thoughts on Blakkklansman. If you want to send us a voice message on Spotify for podcasters, there'll be a link in the description to do so below. Also, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok, and that's everything. So, goodbye.
Black Cop! Black Cop, Black Cop, Black Cop, stop shooting.